Hello, this is Mark Sabatella from Outside Shore Music. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of my very favorite standards in the repertoire, Stella by Starlight by Victor Young. When I say a standard, this has a somewhat specific meaning among jazz musicians. We really mean, well, first of all, generally we mean songs that we all kind of know and like to play. That's a general meaning, but more specifically, we usually mean the popular music of the first half of the 20th century. They were either songs published as sheet music, recorded by singers like Frank Sinatra, written for Broadway shows or Broadway musicals, and any of that sort of music is what we're talking about here. Victor Young, in particular, was a classically trained composer, and he wrote mostly music for movies, which is what Stella by Starlight is. It's from the movie The Uninvited. Lyrics were later added by Ned Washington. So this is one of my favorite standards, and I give you this background because A, it's interesting, but also I want to mention that one reason this song has been on my mind is that recently a musician, Jonathan Huber, posted a wonderful video of some sheet music that his grandmother had that was actually in Victor Young's hand. That was his own piano arrangement of this song with his own harmonization that are somewhat different than the chords that most jazz musicians might know. It's a fascinating video. Definitely recommend checking it out. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that arrangement in another video. But first, I want to talk about why do I care about Stella by Starlight? Why should anyone care about Stella by Starlight? There's any number of reasons why someone might call something, oh, this is one of my favorite songs. Maybe the lyrics are meaningful to you, and that's fine. But I want to talk about a really concrete theoretical thing here, or a couple theoretical points, and it has to do with repetition or non-repetition. So right now we're looking at, this is a lead sheet that I put together based on that Victor Young piano arrangement using his chords but transposed to B flat. I want to flip over first to the version that would be more familiar to most jazz musicians. This comes from the Real Book, a popular fake book. And the chords are, to be honest, not that different. People come get all bent out of shape about this chord being different than that other chord, but realistically it's the same basic structure, just a few fairly standard type substitutions, not out of line with what jazz musicians often do with standards. So when I say repetition and non-repetition, in particular, I'm referring to the form of the piece. Now this is a 32 bar form when written out in 4/4 in quarter notes like this. The Victor Young arrangement was kind of half that length because it was written more in eighth notes. But in any case, it's a 32 bar form as we usually conceive of it. And a lot of 32 bar forms are AABA. An 8-bar A section that is then repeated, a contrasting bridge, and then that same A section again. That means that original 8 bars we're going to hear 3 times. And yeah, the last bar or two might be a little different, first ending, second ending, etc. But for the most part, we're going to hear that same 8 bars 3 times. That means we hear the same melody 3 times at the beginning of the tune, and then we hear that same melody 3 times again when we play the head out, and then when we're soloing on it, we get to play those same chord changes 3 times per chorus. We get maybe a little tired in a lot of standards of that amount of repetition. This isn't to say we don't enjoy doing it. No, there's tons of standards we enjoy, and despite that repetition. To make matters perhaps to exacerbate things within those 8 bars, there might be some repetition. The song might typically start on a tonic chord and then 4 bars later hit that tonic again, and at the end of the 8 bars hit that tonic again going into the next phrase, right? We're often going to hit that tonic chord kind of over and over again. And the B section is often in another key just to give us some relief from that. So there's typically kind of a lot of repetition and a lot of not straying too far from home in a lot of standards. Stella doesn't do any of that. Stella is its own unique thing. It's 30. Oh, so I'd say AABA, but a lot of songs maybe are ABAC, and that's 2 A sections. And then you say, oh, a B section and a C section, that they're different, but often the B and the C are the same for at least the first 4 bars also. That's still just, it's some repetition. Stella has almost none of that. So I'm going to play it through here and talk a little bit as I do so using the real book chords, and then I want to talk a little bit about Victor Young's harmonization. Again, I'm going to go into more detail about that in another video later, but I want to use the familiar chords here to make points about how this became a favorite for so many people. So it goes something like this. I stop there because I've now played the A section, the first 8 bars. What's noteworthy about this, well, it's in the key of B flat. It's totally diatonic in the melody, but we haven't actually encountered even a single tonic chord. We haven't encountered a B flat major chord yet. Yes, we had the B flat 7 chord here after the F minor, B flat 7. But that's not functioning as a tonic, that's functioning as a secondary dominant. It's tonicizing the E flat to come. So at this point, we are 8 bars into the tune, and it's not even clear to the ear what key we are in. That's a remarkable thing. There's almost no other song that from the standard repertoire that we could say that about. And then what happens in the next 8 bars? Well, melodically, it's not what happened in the first 8, right? It's not a repetition of the first 8 bars. Instead, it's something like this. Actually, I played that B flat chord in inversion because that's what Victor wrote, but let's play it in root position. So the next 8 bars also, it has the tonic chord finally there at the beginning of that 8-bar phrase, and not ever again. Yes, there's a B flat chord 4 bars later, but it's B flat minor. This is functioning as a what's called a backdoor 2/5 going into that F chord. And this is not Victor Young's chord. Victor Young doesn't use that B flat minor there, but in any case, there's not a 1 chord. There's not a B flat major chord other than the one at the beginning of bar 9 there. So we've gone 16 bars into this tune, and we've only heard the tonic once, and we haven't heard a single measure repeat. There's reuse of motifs, and then we have, right? So there's repetition of motifs, which is good. We like that, but we haven't heard an entire 8-bar phrase repeat. Now we get to the third 8-bar section. All right, yet another melody. It's not the first 8 bars. It's not the second 8 bars. It's yet another 8 bars. So we've gone 24 bars into the tune. And yes, there's been some motifs that have been developed, but there's been no out-and-out repetition of anything yet. And in 24 bars, we've only heard the tonic chord twice, once at the beginning of the second phrase and once at the end of the third phrase. This song is an exercise in going places harmonically. We go all over the place. We visit other keys. We do all sorts of interesting things here. There's other stuff going on, like the fact that the melody note throughout this passage is all color tones. And actually, Victor's chord was, right? So it's all is color tones in the melody. So we also don't have a strong sense of home as a result of that. If I flip over to Victor Young's chord, I want to make Victor Young's chords. I want to make another point that even when he does give us that B flat chord, it's an inversion. And at the end of the bridge, over here, it's also in an inversion. So he is not only barely ever giving us a tonic chord, but he's also not putting it in root position. And he's putting color tones in the melody. So he's really keeping this whole thing very off balance. It is not hitting us over the head with tonic chords all the time and roots in the melody and roots everywhere. It's not hitting us over the head with anything. It's really an exploration. And then finally, the last 8 bars, that much is exactly the same as the beginning, except at least the melody is the same. And the chords are the same until we get to that third chord and it goes somewhere different. So 2 measures in the entire 32 bar form. That's it for out and out repetition. Yes, there are bars 1 and 2 are the same as bars 25 and 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Yeah, 25 and 26. Those 2 bars are the same. That is the only repetition we get, because then it goes somewhere different. Our first non-diatonic note in the melody. And it doesn't even end with the root in the melody at the end of the piece, which is another unusual but welcome thing about it. It doesn't have this sense of finality and keep coming back to that one chord with the root in the bass and the root in the melody. It just doesn't do that. It doesn't keep coming back. It keeps moving is what it does. And yes, in Victor Young's original version, it's still the B flat in the melody, but with the root in the bass. His version is in D, not in B flat. When we'll look at it, we'll see that. But the only place he gives us a root position B flat tonic chord is at the very end, and then he doesn't even put the root in the melody. So the song is very much about non-repetition and being away from home. If I think of the tonic as home and as a chord, and scale degree 1 as the home note melodically, he's really going out of his way to keep things moving and not continually returning home, not saying the same thing over and over again, as the way I have been here in this video. So it's a beautiful song. Right? I mean, the melody is a pretty melody, the chords are pretty chords, but we can say that about a lot of other songs, and there's a lot of other songs I like for those reasons. But what makes Stella by Starlight unique is that aspect, or these aspects that I've just been talking about. The way it doesn't repeat itself, and the way it doesn't keep coming to the tonic. It barely references the tonic at all, and when it does, it kind of softens it by putting notes other than the root in the melody and or in the bass, especially in the original harmonization. So in any case, Stella by Starlight, a really fantastic standard, and one of my favorites, one of the favorites of many other jazz musicians, and this gives you a little insight into why.